Hello, Kurt Jackson with KJ Financial here with the sixth installment of our first module where we're talking about the inefficiencies of traditional financial planning in our Retirement Accelerator Blueprint two-module series. And we are on number 6, and this is a big one, folks, because I don't think people really don't understand this, but it's the devastating impact of fees. So remember how much of your wealth market losses can steal from you. Do you recall when we said market losses were likely the biggest culprit for stealing wealth from you? Well, here's culprit number 2. And the only reason it isn't the biggest is because it actually goes to work after you've suffered those market losses and thus has less money working for you. So what's the number 2 wealth stealing culprit? Didn't we give it away in the title? It's fees, of course. So you're probably thinking, wait, what do you mean, Kurt? Fees are a small sliver of the pie. They're only around 1%. When they claim fees are a small sliver, it sounds feasible, right? I mean, 1%, come on, that's not big. I mean, that just seems so small. Sit tight, pay close attention, because this is financially crucial for you to fully understand. What is the biggest selling point of investing? The power of compounding interest, right? I mean, didn't Albert Einstein call it the 8th wonder of the world? If investments compound as they grow, could they also compound going the other way? Could annual losses cause your loss of wealth to compound? So unfortunately, they could, and more importantly, they do. So do you pay fees only when your account is up? Don't you pay fees every year no matter what? So are fees adding to your account balance or subtracting from your account balance? And they're subtracting money from your account how often? Every single year, right? Aren't fees guaranteed losses every year? I mean, in up years, don't they reduce your gains? And in down years, don't they increase your losses? Does that sound like efficiency for your money? How about a hypothetical example using real-world returns? Assume $100,000 invested in the S&P 500 with dividends, paying 1.5% fees starting at the beginning of 1998 through the end of 2022. That way we've got a full 25 years to look at. Fees are interesting. Aren't we typically told they're around 1%? Well, in reality, fees are typically higher than that. Our research shows managed money typically has about a 2.2% annual fee structure. So we chose something in that mid-range between 1 and 2.2%, so at 1.5% in annual fees. So remember back in our video of advertised rates being average annual returns, which are a math term, not a money term, where they take the sum of the returns over the years and divide them by the number of years and boom, the average annual return or advertised rate. Well, for that 25-year period, the S&P 500 did a 7.07% average annual return. Dividends were 1.83% average annual returns for a total average annual return or advertised rate of 8.9%. So if advertised returns had you thinking you were going to get 8.9% average annual return for 25 years, wouldn't you have expected your $100,000 to grow to about $842,747? Don't believe me? Go to an online calculator and run that baby. Unfortunately, when we put money to it, all these different annual returns, with 17 up years, 7 down years, and 1 flat year, our actual return was 7.44%. So our actual return was 1.46% lower than our average annual return, our advertised return, or 16.4% less. So having a 7.44% actual return gives your $100,000 an ending balance of $601,253. Well, that's already $241,494 less, 28.66% lower than what you thought you would have had with an 8.9% average annual return, the advertised return. Does that sound like market efficiency or market inefficiency to you? Remember, we're talking about fees, right? So what impact could fees have on your ability to build wealth? 25 years of 1.5% fees added up to $76,133. Since you know your ending balance without fees was $601,253 and your fees were $76,133, what do you think your ending balance would be? So many would subtract the $76,133 from the $601,253 and have an expected ending balance of $525,120. I mean, that's logical. I mean, I can see why people would think that. But remember what I said about fees being guaranteed annual losses? Didn't we talk about how guaranteed annual losses could compound your losses, just like compounding interest works for you when your account is going up? Would it surprise you to find out your ending balance after fees would have been just $390,740? Isn't that $210,513 less than the $601,253 without fees? Isn't that 35.01% less than you thought you would have before fees? Isn't that also $134,380 less than the $525,120 balance many thought it would be by simply subtracting the fees from the ending balance before fees? So just to be clear, how much wealth did you lose because of the inefficiencies of the stock market with its up years and down years? $241,494, right? How much wealth did you lose because of the guaranteed annual losses from the 1.5% in fees? $210,513, right? Haven't you lost a total of $452,007 from what you thought you would have from the advertised rate of 8.9%? Isn't that 53.64% less than what you thought you'd have thanks to the bogus advertised rates and that small sliver of fees? Has anyone showed you the math on this before? Would this have been good information to know before you started investing in the market and paying fees? Are you surprised, or were you expecting this much wealth to be stolen from you from fees alone? Would it make sense to do everything you can to make things more efficient? Wouldn't you need to eliminate market losses? Didn't we show you that in a previous video? Wouldn't we also need to at least minimize fees? Or if we have to pay fees, shouldn't we want to quantify what we're getting for those fees to see if they're worth paying? Would it be even better if we could eliminate annual fees and the compounding losses that come with having annual guaranteed losses? Think it's possible to do that in today's financial world? What if it was possible? Would you want to get a taste of what that might mean? Let's sample it from a 30,000-foot view of you. Look, I'm not going to go into all the details here. I'm happy to do that in a separate virtual call with you, but here we're just going to give the high points, okay? Hypothetically, this vehicle is linked to the S&P 500 without dividends. It's not in the market. It's linked to the market, so it won't suffer any losses when the market is down. It captures gains in the S&P 500 without dividends up to 13%. It locks in any gains on an annual basis. There are no annual fees. Remember how important not having losses and fees are to your ability to build wealth. So we're not saying there are no costs. There are. The costs are baked into the cake, so to speak. So they're covered in the design of the financial vehicle. So if the company who created it didn't need money to help cover overhead and didn't need to make some profit to stay in business, then the crediting rate could have been higher. But they wouldn't have been in business to give it to you now, would they? So wait a minute. Without fees, are we still suffering annual losses and having them compound over time or not? All right. So what does this all mean? Say the S&P 500 without dividends was up 15% for the year. Your gains are capped at 13%, so you would get credited with a 13% gain. Lock in those gains and protect them from ever losing money going forward. If the S&P 500 without dividends was up 5%, your gain you would be credited with is 5%. Locked in and protected from ever losing money. If the S&P 500 without dividends was down 20%, you don't lose a penny. Zero is your hero. Now you're probably wondering, all right, how would this have performed in comparison to the S&P 500 example you just gave? Good thing we were ready for that, right? So hypothetically, over the same 25-year period, the ending balance on the safe and productive growth, aggressively safe investment vehicle would have been $613,485 with an actual return CAGR of 7.53%. Isn't that $12,232 more than the $601,253 you thought you had after putting money into the equation and before fees were deducted? Please realize that this $613,485 is your ending balance. That's what you ended up with after 25 years. No fees coming out of it. This period from 1998 through 2022 is thought to be a good sequence of returns. You had 2 big up years before the 3 down years of the dot-com crash. In this hypothetical real-world scenario, is safe and productive growth more efficient than the traditional planning of being in the stock market exposed to all that risk of loss and fees? So, could safe and productive growth with no fees be efficient and effective? Which situation would you have rather been in? So that's this episode. Fees absolutely destroy your ability to build wealth. Don't let anybody else try to convince you otherwise. In our next episode, we're going to dive into taxes and how we've been sold a bill of goods with tax-deferred retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs. Don't worry, we're going to dive pretty deep into this one too. So go ahead, click on the next episode below.